Welcome to the sleepy underworld, a place where romance blooms, magic sparkles, and timeless fairy tales are reimagined for the dreamers of today. From heart-stirring romances to spellbinding adventures, every story is a soothing escape into a realm of love, wonder, and charm. So curl up, press play, and let us carry you away to the land of dreams. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. We'd love to know in what part of the world you are watching and what is your favorite tip for a good night's sleep. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. Salt crystals crunched beneath my bare feet as I traced familiar paths along the shoreline. The setting sun painted the clouds in shades of coral and gold, their colors reflecting in tide pools like scattered jewels. I inhaled deeply, letting the briny air fill my lungs, a mixture of seaweed, salt spray, and that indefinable essence that made every beach unique. My collection bag already held a dozen shells, each one singing its distinct melody. A spiraling periwinkle hummed like distant wind chimes. A fan-shaped scallop whispered a lullaby. But I kept searching, drawn by an inexplicable feeling that something waited for me in the gathering dusk. The massive conch shell lay half buried in wet sand, its surface gleaming with impossible colors. Swirls of midnight blue merged with threads of gold that moved in the fading light. My fingers trembled as I lifted it. The shell was warm despite the cool evening air, its weight settling in my palms like it belonged there. When I held it to my ear, the usual soft hum of shells transformed into something else entirely. A deep, rich voice poured over thunder and spoke my name. Irene. The sound resonated through my chest, making my heart stutter. My knees weakened, and I sank into the damp sand. The incoming tide lapped at my feet, surprisingly warm for early summer. You can hear me. The voice held centuries of longing. After so long, someone finally hears. Who? My throat felt dry. I swallowed hard. Who are you? I am Orin, guardian of the ocean's magic. His voice carried the weight of waves and the lightness of sea foam. And you, Irene, can hear the true songs. The shell pulsed with gentle warmth against my skin. How do you know my name? I know the bloodline of all shell singers. Your grandmother was one, perhaps the last, until you. Memory washed over me like a wave, Gran's weathered hands guiding mine to hold a tiny spiral shell, her smile when I gasped at hearing my first song, the scent of her gardenia perfume mixed with salt air. Her final words before she passed were, "Trust what the ocean tells you, little pearl." Gran never told me what it meant, I whispered. Why I could hear them when no one else could. She protected you until you were ready. Orin's voice softened. The gift of shell singing brings both wonder and responsibility. Those who fear magic would seek to destroy it, as they sought to destroy me. A gust of wind carried the sharp scent of approaching rain. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, though stars still glittered overhead. The waves grew more insistent, reaching for the shell in my hands. What happened to you? Centuries ago, I guarded the balance between land and sea. But humans grew fearful of ocean magic. They worked a binding spell, trapping me in this shell. His voice darkened like storm-tossed water. But they didn't understand. My imprisonment left the seas unprotected. Now something stirs in the deep, something that should have remained sleeping. Thunder rolled in the distance. The water around my feet receded unnaturally, pulling back as if recoiling from an unseen threat. What's awakening? An ancient one. A creature of chaos bound by the same spell that holds me. The magic weakens, Irene. When it breaks, and it will break soon, both I and the creature will be freed. Without a guardian's strength to contain it, the beast will return the oceans to their primordial state. Nothing will survive its hunger. I clutch the shell tighter, its warmth spreading up my arms. Why tell me this? Because you can hear me. Because your blood carries the old magic. You're the only one who can break the spell safely. Release me without unleashing the chaos. His voice caressed my mind like gentle waves. I've waited centuries for someone like you. The tide rushed back in, swirling around my legs with unusual force. The water felt different, heavier, more purposeful. Something vast moved beneath the surface, too far out to see clearly. I need to understand everything, I said. Tell me about the binding, about Gran, about what's out there. Tell me how to help. As the storm approached, Orin's story poured forth. He spoke of an age when magic flowed freely between the worlds, when guardians kept the balance between primal forces. He told me of my grandmother's role as keeper of ancient knowledge, and how she had known this day would come. Your grandmother found me when she was just a girl, he said, his voice swelling with memory. She kept me safe until she could pass the knowledge to you. She saw something in you from the moment you were born, a connection to the sea that ran deeper than blood. I remembered Gran's cottage by the shore, how she'd taught me to listen to shells, while other grandmothers taught their grandchildren to bake cookies. How she'd walked with me at the ocean's edge every night, whispering stories of merfolk and guardians and magic hidden beneath the waves. She never spoke about my parents, I said softly, only that they were gone. A pause hung between us, heavy with unspoken truths. Your mother was her daughter, Orin finally replied. Your father came from the sea. My heart lurched. What are you saying? Not all guardians take human form, Irene. Your father was of my kind, a protector of the depths who fell in love with a human woman. Their union was rare, precious, and forbidden. The shell warmed against my palm, almost too hot to hold. Is that why I can hear you? Because I'm half human, half guardian, he finished. A bridge between worlds. The only one who might heal the divide. The wind whipped my hair around my face as I struggled to process this revelation. The storm clouds drew closer, lightning flashing within their dark hearts. The binding spell, I managed, forcing my thoughts back to the immediate threat. How do we break it for you but keep the other contained? The spell was woven with sacrifice and sealed with blood. Breaking it requires more than just power. It needs understanding, acceptance, and a connection between souls. What kind of connection? I asked, though something in my heart already knew. The deepest kind. His voice held a warmth that seemed to chase away the growing chill. One that forms when two spirits recognize one another across time itself. I rose from the sand, clutching the shell to my chest. I should go before the storm hits. I'll come back tomorrow. Irene. My name and his voice sent shivers down my spine. Be careful. The ocean grows restless. Thalassos senses change coming, and it will fight to break free. That night, I dreamed of diving through endless blue depths. In my dreams, a man swam beside me, tall and powerful, with skin like polished pearl and hair the deep blue-green of ocean depths. His eyes, when they met mine, held the same warmth I'd heard in Orin's voice. He took my hand, our fingers intertwining as we spiraled through coral gardens that glowed with their own light. Fish with scales like jewels darted around us. In this realm between waking and sleeping, words flowed without speaking. I've waited so long for you. His thoughts brushed against mine, intimate as a caress. I felt his loneliness, centuries of isolation, and the growing hope that had ignited when I first heard his voice. How did you know it would be me? I asked without words. The ocean remembers what the mind forgets. We've met before, Irene. In another time, another life. He pulled me closer, our bodies floating weightlessly in the current. His hand cupped my cheek, his thumb tracing my lower lip. The intensity of his gaze stole my breath. When two souls are meant to find each other, even time bends to make it possible. I woke with the taste of salt on my lips and tears on my cheeks, my body humming with a longing I couldn't name. The shell on my nightstand glowed softly in the pre-dawn darkness, pulsing like a heartbeat. Over the next 7 days, I returned to the beach at every possible moment. Orin taught me the old words of power, the songs that could unravel spells. But more than that, we talked. He told me of swimming through coral gardens that glowed with their own light, of conversations with whale pods that spanned decades, of watching civilizations rise and fall from his ocean home. I shared my own stories, the loneliness of being different, the joy of finding shells that sang just for me, the dreams of something more that had always pulled me toward the sea. With each conversation, the connection between us deepened. I began to sense his emotions, to feel echoes of his presence even away from the shell. Every night, I dreamed of him. In these dreams, we explored underwater kingdoms and danced in moonlit waters. His touch grew bolder, his kisses more urgent. I woke each morning with my body aching for completion, for a lover who existed only in my dreams, and a shell clutched in my hand. On the 5th day, I arrived at our usual meeting spot to find the sea churning beneath a clear sky, waves crashing against the shore with unusual force. Orin, I called, clutching the shell close. What's happening? His voice came strained, distant. Thalassos fights against its bonds. The binding weakens faster than I feared. Lightning crackled across the water's surface, though no storm clouds gathered. In that flash, I glimpsed something massive moving beyond the breakers, a darkness deeper than the water itself. Tell me more about it, I said, sinking onto the sand. What exactly are we facing? Thalassos is as old as the oceans themselves, a being of pure chaos that remembers when the seas were acid and fire when nothing lived but itself. His voice held ancient grief. It desires only to return to that state of primal dominance. And you? What do you desire? The question slipped out before I could stop it. A pause hung between us, filled with the crash of waves and the cry of gulls. Freedom, he finally answered. And you. Heat flooded my cheeks. You don't even know me. I know your soul, Irene. I've known it across lifetimes. His voice caressed my mind. I know how your heart beats faster when I say your name. I know the dreams you've been having. You send those dreams? I share them. What we experience in that space between worlds is real, a meeting of spirits while your body sleeps. I traced the spiral pattern of the shell with my fingertip, remembering the feel of his hands on my skin, his lips against mine. So, you know how I feel. Tell me anyway. His voice dropped to a whisper. I need to hear the words. I think I've loved you since before I knew you existed, I admitted. I just didn't understand the emptiness until you filled it. The shell warmed against my palm, pulsing with a rhythm that matched my heartbeat. My brave shell singer, he murmured. I think I've loved you since the first moment you heard my voice. As our bond grew stronger, so did the signs of approaching chaos. The waves grew erratic, following patterns that didn't match the moon's pull. Seabirds fled the coast in massive flocks. Fish washed ashore with strange marks on their scales, their eyes clouded with terror. On the 7th day, a dead whale appeared on the beach. Its massive body bore wounds like nothing I'd ever seen. Not from propellers or sharks, but jagged rips that seemed made by teeth larger than anything known to science. The authorities cordoned off the area, baffled experts shaking their heads as they took samples. I slipped past the barriers at twilight, drawn to the creature. Up close, the wounds emanated a faint, sickly glow. When I touched the edge of one laceration, visions flashed through my mind. Darkness, ancient hunger, a malevolence that predated consciousness itself. Thalassos killed it, Orin confirmed when I returned to our spot down the beach, the shell glowing faintly in my hands. It's testing its strength. The binding won't hold much longer. The ritual to break your part of the spell, I said urgently. We need to do it now. It must be performed at midnight during the new moon, when the veil between worlds grows thinnest. His voice tightened with concern. That's tomorrow night, Irene, but I fear Thalassos won't wait that long. I looked out at the unnaturally still water. The usual rhythm of the waves had ceased, leaving the ocean's surface flat and glassy despite the evening breeze. What do we do until then? Tonight, we complete the connection between us. Only the strongest bond will give us the power we need. In my dreams? Yes, but deeper than before. I need to teach you the final words of power, knowledge that can only be shared through the most intimate communion. That night, I prepared carefully. I bathed in seawater collected at sunset, scented with the herbs Gran had taught me to use. Lavender for protection, rose for love, rosemary for memory. I dressed in a simple white nightgown, leaving my feet bare to maintain contact with the earth. The shell lay on a cushion of blue silk beside my bed. When midnight struck, I placed the shell over my heart and closed my eyes, whispering the words Orin had taught me. Sleep came quickly, pulling me down into depths more profound than ordinary dreams. I opened my eyes to find myself on a beach unlike any I'd seen before. The sand glittered with tiny flecks of gold, and the water before me shone with an inner light. Stars scattered across the sky in unfamiliar patterns, brighter and more numerous than possible in my world. Orin stood at the water's edge, his back to me. No longer confined to a voice in a shell, he appeared as I'd seen him in my dreams. Tall and powerful, his body both human and somehow more. When he turned, his eyes glowed with the same blue-green light that illuminated the water. Irene. My name on his lips sent ripples of energy across my skin. You came. Did you doubt I would? He crossed the distance between us in long strides. Never. Not since you first heard my voice. When he took my hands, energy sparked between our palms. His skin felt warm, solid, more real than any dream. Where are we? The in-between, not my realm or yours, but a place where we can meet as equals. He lifted one hand to my cheek. Here, I can show you everything you need to know. His lips met mine with a gentle pressure that quickly deepened into hunger. As we kissed, images flowed from his mind to mine. Ancient words of power, the structure of the binding spell, the precise gestures needed to unravel it. But beneath the knowledge ran a current of emotion so intense it brought tears to my eyes. Centuries of loneliness, the joy of finding me, a desire that burned like the sun. We sank to the star-flecked sand, our bodies entwining as naturally as waves meeting the shore. Every touch, every kiss felt magnified, as if our very souls connected through our skin. His hands traced my body with reverence, learning every curve and hollow. When he whispered words against my skin in a language older than humanity, they left trails of light in their wake. Our joining transcended physical pleasure. As our bodies moved in perfect harmony, our minds and spirits merged until I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began. I felt his ancient power flowing through me, mingling with my own untapped magic. Together, we formed something greater than either of us alone. A perfect balance of earth and sea, human and guardian, love and power. At the moment of culmination, the world around us exploded into light. Every star in the sky seemed to pour its brilliance into us, filling us with power that would have been unbearable alone, but felt like completion together. As our breathing slowed, Orin gathered me against his chest. His heartbeat echoed the rhythm of waves against the shore. "Now you know everything," he murmured against my hair. "The ritual tomorrow night," I said, tracing patterns on his chest. "Will it work?" He caught my hand, bringing it to his lips. "It's never been attempted this way before. The original binding required the sacrifice of several guardians, their life force used to create chains that would hold both me and Thalassos. But we're trying to free only you. Yes, using love rather than sacrifice, connection rather than control." His eyes darkened with worry. "But Thalassos will fight the moment it senses the binding weakening. I won't have my full strength immediately, and you'll be vulnerable." I lifted myself onto one elbow, looking down into his troubled face. "You fear for me." "With every fiber of my being." He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "If anything happened to you—" "Nothing will happen," I promised, sealing the words with a kiss. "We'll face this together." When I woke the next morning, the shell lay warm against my heart, pulsing with newly familiar energy. I spent the day preparing, gathering the items Orin had instructed me to bring. A vial of my blood, spring water collected at dawn, elements that represented the balance we sought to restore. As sunset approached, signs of Thalassos' growing influence became impossible to ignore. The tide retreated unnaturally far, exposing parts of the seabed rarely seen by human eyes. Fish flopped desperately on the suddenly dry ocean floor. The air grew heavy with ozone and the metallic taste of ancient magic. Officials issued warnings to stay away from the beach, citing unusual tidal activity and unexplained electrical storms. But I slipped past their barriers as darkness fell, carrying my supplies in a woven bag Gran had given me for my 16th birthday. The moon hid its face as planned, leaving only stars to illuminate my path. I waded into the unnaturally calm water at our usual meeting spot. The shell clutched against my heart. "Orin," I called softly. "I'm here." His voice, when it came, held urgent tenderness. The spell weakens faster than I expected. Thalassos stirs. A tremor ran through the water. When the binding breaks, I'll need moments to regain physical form. Thalassos will wake immediately. You'll have to... Something cut him off. A vibration that shuddered through the water and air alike. Out beyond the breakers, the ocean's surface bulged upward, as if something massive pushed from below. "It's happening already." Fear threaded Orin's voice. "The binding fails. Quickly, Irene." I began to sing the words he'd taught me, my voice carrying across the unnaturally still water. The shell blazed hot against my skin, light pulsing from within it in time with my heartbeat. Power flowed through me, ancient magic recognizing ancient blood. The ocean roared back toward shore with unnatural speed. I braced against its pull, continuing the song even as water swirled around my waist. The shell grew brighter, its surface becoming liquid starlight under my fingers. A sound like breaking worlds split the night. The shell dissolved into pure light, flowing like molten gold over my hands and into the waves. Brightness flared, blinding. Then darkness crashed back as something erupted from the deep. Thalassos rose like a mountain of nightmare, its body a writhing mass of scales and teeth, and too many eyes. Each eye was larger than a house, filled with malice older than life itself. Its roar shook the earth, and I felt its ancient hatred focus on me with crushing weight. Irene. The voice came from beside me now, accompanied by a warm hand clasping mine. "Don't look at it. Look at me." I turned. Orin stood in the waves, his form coalescing from sea spray and starlight. He was more beautiful than even my dreams had shown, tall and powerful, with skin like polished pearl and hair the deep blue-green of ocean depths. His eyes held the same warmth I'd heard in his voice, now filled with desperate concern. "The binding spell," he said urgently. "We have to—" Thalassos struck. A tentacle thick as a redwood tree swept toward us. Orin pulled me close, raising his other hand. A barrier of blue light sprang up, deflecting the blow, but the impact sent us stumbling. "I'm not strong enough yet," Orin gasped. "The old spell. I can't—" I squeezed his hand, feeling our connection pulse with power. "Then we'll make a new one. Together." Understanding flowed between us. This wasn't about recreating the ancient binding. It was about forging something new. Something born of love rather than sacrifice, of choice rather than fear. We began to sing, our voices weaving together in perfect harmony. The magic rose around us, different from before, warmer, brighter, alive with possibility. Thalassos roared in fury, but this time the sound held uncertainty. Light spiraled out from where our hands joined, wrapping around the ancient creature in streams of gold and blue. Where the old binding had been chains, this was more like a web, flexible, organic, allowing movement while preventing harm. Thalassos thrashed against the new constraints, its rage palpable in the churning waters. But as our song reached its crescendo, something shifted in the creature. Its movements became less violent and more rhythmic. Its eyes, no longer filled with hatred, pulsed in time with the waves. The final note faded into the night air. Thalassos sank slowly beneath the surface, not trapped but transformed, bound not by force but by harmony, becoming part of the ocean's eternal dance rather than its destroyer. I turned to Orin, breathing hard. He gathered me close, his skin warm despite the cool water surrounding us. The scent of him filled my lungs. Salt and storms and something ancient as the tides themselves. "You found another way," he whispered against my hair. "You saw what all the guardians missed." "We found it together," I corrected, looking up into eyes that held entire oceans. "Love is stronger than fear. Connection more powerful than control." His smile was like a sunrise over calm seas. When he kissed me, I tasted salt and magic and joy. The waves swirled around us, singing their ancient songs. But now I understood them completely. They weren't just songs of power or magic. They were songs of love, of connection, of the eternal dance between land and sea, between two hearts. "What happens now?" I asked when we finally parted, still held safe in his arms. "Now we rebuild what was broken." Orin's fingers traced my cheek with wonder. "The guardianship of the oceans needs to be restored. Balance must be maintained. And us?" His eyes softened. "We belong to both worlds, you and I. Neither fully of land nor sea, but together." He pressed his forehead to mine. "Together we can bridge the divide." I thought of Gran's cottage, standing empty since her passing. We could use my grandmother's cottage as our base, heal the damage Thalassos caused, and teach others to hear the ocean's songs. Orin lifted my hand to his lips. "Your grandmother always believed that humanity could learn to live in harmony with the sea again. She saw you as the beginning of that change." As dawn broke over the horizon, we walked from the water, hand in hand. The shore bore evidence of the night's events. Strange patterns in the sand, shells arranged in spirals that hummed with quiet power. But the sea itself had calmed, returning to its natural rhythm under the watchful presence of its guardians. Now, I walk the shore each day with Orin beside me, teaching others to hear the ocean's songs. Some nights, we sleep in Gran's cottage, wrapped in one another's arms beneath quilts she sewed with symbols of protection. Other nights, we swim beneath the waves, exploring Orin's realm of endless blue. Our love bridges worlds that have been separated too long. With each person who learns to hear the shell's songs, the divide narrows further. The ocean, with all its vast mystery, sings of possibility, of connection across any barrier, of love that recognizes itself in any form. And in the deep, Thalassos swims in its new form, no longer a creature of chaos, but a guardian of the ocean's most ancient secrets. It too sings now, a song of transformation, of darkness, finding its place within the light. Together, Orin and I guard the balance, not through force or fear, but through love and understanding. Our souls, entwined across lifetimes, form the strongest magic of all, a power that flows like tides, eternal and ever-changing, a whispered promise carried on every wave that reaches the shore.